Welcome, everyone, to our second installment of
Surprise! We both love movies.
I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
And this week we're going to review Bill and Ted Face the Music. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history here. The original Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure was actually filmed in our very own Metrocenter Mall in Phoenix, Arizona. It was the mall I grew up and Aaron grew up going to, where I know I went on at least a date in the outlying restaurants around there. My first time going ice skating, just like one of the characters in the original movie. My first ice skating experience was in Metrocenter Mall, and a lot of memories of being young and being nervous around girls and what to do and what to buy. And lots of times, I think at that time I was a big video game guy, and I went to the mall just to go look at video games that I wanted that I couldn't afford. So as you grow up, you have different experiences, but it's definitely one of the great memories that I have of growing up in Phoenix. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, Metro Center was a staple in my childhood. I had a sister who was older and a younger brother. And we also have lots of friends, and we would go there all the time, spend a lot of time at the mall. Like you said, ice skating there. I saw a lot of movies there. Right there on that second level by the ice skating rink, they used to have a movie theater. I remember seeing Batman 89 in there. I remember seeing The Rocketeer in there. I remember seeing Terminator 2, Robin Hood, Jurassic Park. Lots of movies right there. They also used to have an arcade right next door where I played some of my favorite games of all time. There's lots of great stuff about Metro Center. And right down that alleyway right there, too, off to the side, they used to have Suncoast. Lots of movie stuff there.
Yeah.
I bought many movie posters, many videotapes, VHS tapes from there. And also around the corner from there, they had where I first had Chick-fil-A for the first time. And I'll never forget the taste of that chicken sandwich, because there is really nothing like it. And that's what made me a lover of Chick-fil-A. It's still my favorite place when it comes to chicken. So that mall it's a big part of my childhood, and I have lots of fond memories. And that's one of the things I love about the original Bill and Ted is seeing those scenes, because that is our mall. They didn't change the mall for the movie. That was our mall.
Agreed. And you know what? It's a sad time. And I was going to, just recently in the last couple of, actually, I think it's last month, the mall officially closed. And, I was going to break down and start a little song of, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Yeah. Because the mall is done. They had a big celebration. I actually went to that celebration where we kind of had one big party, and we all were in our cars, and there was people, doing tricks in their vehicles. There was people that were, doing burnouts in the parking lot, and everybody was just standing around. It was one big last hurrah, and it was a great way to send out that mall after being open since the 70s. So it's so long farewell to a great, piece of Phoenix history. But we move on, and there's new and other and better things that we will find going forward for the next generation. So with this is our review of Bill and Ted Face the Music, or Bill and Ted's Part 3, starring Keanu Reeves and Alex.
I've risen the wild stallions.
Let's rock!
When your wives suggested couples therapy, do you think that this is what they had in mind?
Definitely. I mean, we're a couple of couples, right?
Bill, Ted, enough of the delusions. You didn't time travel, and you didn't go to heaven and hell. Here's a real idea for you. Be role models to your daughters. Get real jobs.
Bill, we've spent our whole life trying to unite the world, and I'm tired, dude.
Ted, we have a destiny to fulfill.
Whoa!
Greetings, my excellent friends. We have a problem.
Step forward. A song created by Preston Logan, perform tonight will save reality as we know it.
Oh. Dude, we better write that song now. Or why can't we just go to the future when we have written it?
And take it from ourselves.
Except, won't that be stealing?
Cheers! How is that stealing if we're stealing it from ourselves, dude?
Dude, our dads are totally in trouble. We should help them out.
No way! How's it going, Bill and Ted?
We're putting together a most extraordinary band.
Hey, you want to be in our band?
Oh, this is ja fantastisch. We're gonna go talk to Death. Is he playing hopscotch by himself? Dude, he's cheating. Hey, Death.
Life, it isn't the wild stallions.
Let's rock!
Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Dina! Billy! Dance! How you doing?
Well, you know, we're dead and we're in hell.
But how you doing?
We're good.
So the plot for this movie is pretty straightforward, and it comes after a really long gap. So this takes place, they forwarded to our time today, and they still haven't created the song that was going to save humanity. And at the beginning of the movie, you find out they have just a few hours left to create that song, or the world is going to, well, the universe is going to be destroyed. So they get the bright idea to steal the song from themselves in the future, which then leads to a whole string of visits to themselves at various times in the future that are pretty freaking funny. So I'm not going to spoil anything other than the film than that. You guys can watch it. It is available on video on demand. So on any of the services that are out there for streaming, you can rent it. I actually picked up a 3-movie deal off of Vudu. They had the 4K version of all 3 films for $35. So I'm like, all right, that's not bad. So it is now, I own that movie and can watch all 3 of them in 4K at any time that I want.
Good. So I'm going to break down what I liked about this movie first. All right. So here's what I'm going to talk about. So the first thing I liked about this movie is nostalgia. If you were a fan of the original, and maybe even you casually liked, the second one, that's what this movie is. Don't go in with a lot of high expectations. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the movie Ernest Goes to Camp, in a sense. Everyone loved Ernest Goes to Camp, but then they made like 10 more movies after Ernest Goes to Camp, and the quality was not quite what it was. But if you enjoyed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and you're curious to know what happened to them after, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, check it out, is what I would say. In this iteration, we get to see, like, kind of like I said, the middle-aged Bill and Ted deal with, like, not living up to their prophesized destiny, and how they have one last chance to one last crack at it in order to get it right. And, we're both middle-aged, and everyone knows that feeling of, what, I thought I would be at that point in my life, and they're faced with that same thing. And they actually have and in this movie, you see that they were with the princesses in the Bogus Journey movie. They got wives, and so now they have a couple of daughters that are in this movie that are very, very similar to them, is what I would say. You also see Kristen Shaw of 30 Rock fame and of Last Man on Earth fame. She replaces the iconic George Carlin, who kind of works as the navigator of the journey. And I think she did a really good job in this movie, filling those shoes, because it's not an easy person to replace as far as being a driver of the movie and being the comic relief. But she did a very good job, I thought.
Yeah, she did. I think the cast, the best part of this movie for me was, in fact, Bill and Ted. They slipped back into their roles. Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, they slipped back into those roles without skipping a beat. They acted exactly like they did in the past. So this movie didn't feel like it was forced on us or out of place. I thought it felt very very comfortable. I think they slipped into those roles, and I thought that this was a very good sequel. Film-wise, I will always love the original for what it was. It was a fun movie, lots of fond memories because of what it is. This movie, I think, is a better film overall, but I still prefer the original. I would definitely watch this again over Bogus Journey, though. I think this is I think this one, I think this is the best written out of the three films, and I liked the time jumps. They had a purpose, and it wasn't just them randomly going all over the place. So I liked how there was purpose to this film. And you're right, the acting was really good. And they did have a part with George Carlin in there. There is a cameo. And I thought they did it very respectfully. So it was very well done. The daughters, though, oh my gosh. One of the daughters looks just like Margot Robbie. The whole time I'm watching this movie, it's like this is a younger Margot Robbie. What was amazing, though, is that both of those girls acted exactly like their fathers. So that was very, very uncanny. So they all did a great job. I have no complaints at all about the acting in the film. And it was actually directed by the same guy who directed Galaxy Quest, which was another very funny movie. I'll also tell you I had more laughs in this one than either of the other two films. I thought they had some pretty funny jokes in this one.
All right. Well, that's going to get me started on my cons for this movie. All right. Now, like I said, huge fan of the original as well. Bogus Journey, not so much. All right. The whole premise and the idea of the first one was that, hey, you know what? There's these guys that are going through something that's, every kid goes through. They're not ready for their test, and they have to, overcome this, and they get some extra help from the universe, right? And then this one, I felt that the subject matter was a little bit unrelatable. Like, these guys are 50 years old. They don't have any jobs. Their wives provide them their living. And then you go to, there's a scene where they go to their house, and these houses are in California. And it's like a $750,000 house that they walk into. And I'm like, these guys haven't had a job this whole time, and their career is fledgling at this point of their lives as well. And I'm like, they're living large. I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure. I thought when I was watching the scene, I'm like, they're gonna walk behind the house into a trailer or into a little grandmother cottage or something like that. But no, they walked right into the garage. The daughters also. The daughters were. I feel like that could have been a situation where that they would have been a little bit more intimate, or a little bit more realism, because you and I both have daughters, and you know that whatever you like, they almost take the opposite point of view on in some situations. As much as you would love for them to be exactly similar to you, that's not the case. Daughters don't want to be like their dads, but it made for an entertaining aspect of the movie, but it was a little bit far-fetched. But that's what these movies are. So if you go in there thinking, knowing that they took some, they exaggerated some things and had some fun with things, it's okay. The first movie, like I said, it was very relatable. And then by the time you get to them at this stage of their lives, I felt like it was just like, hey, you know what? I've got a good idea. We're going to finish out Bill and Ted's and see if we can, put together something that is marketable and is commercial and can make some money at it. But I would have to applaud this movie in the sense that it was very diverse. The cast was very diverse. At some point they try to kind of, without giving too much away, they try to kind of rehash the original idea of going back and collecting figures from the past. And that was a very, and that's where you see a lot of the diversity in music and things that you hadn't seen before, and it kind of updated it for the times. But it also made it a little bit more relatable and more, it referenced the original in a unique way.
You're absolutely right. That was one thing I was worried about when I saw the trailer, because I was worried about how are the daughters going to fit into this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a whole side story with them, but it does fit in with what's happening in the film. And I think they did a really good job with it. Again, it didn't take away from the overall story. It didn't take away from what Bill and Ted had to do. And the way the ending comes together for me, I thought could have been done maybe a little bit better. I don't think it had the emotional impact that it could have had.
Agreed.
There was one part where they really were going for a home run, and they mentioned something, and then they kind of pull away from it in the next scene, and I was a little disappointed that they didn't run with the ball when they had it. But I don't hate the ending. I think it's very appropriate for what happened, and it is a good closeout. Like, if they end it here, I think it's a good bookend to the overall story.
Oh, agreed.
What did you think?
All right. Overall, I went in and I want to love this movie because it's a movie and it was fun. All right. Now, what I walked away from was, when I looked back on it, I was like, it made me smile a couple times, but it was never laugh out loud funny to me. There were some scenes where it was pretty witty and things that they kind of the comedy of that time, and they kind of rehashed it, and it made it, it made just put a smile on your face. But unless you're a fan of the original, I would not ask your kids to watch this movie or anybody, that doesn't know the backstory or know, because it's really kind of like, it's almost like if you were to watch Beavis and Butthead or something now and they try to rehash that, it's almost like that. These characters are stuck in that time. And when you try to bring them into a different time, it doesn't always work. You have to be really spot on. So overall, I'm going to have to give this movie a 5 out of 10 stars as a movie. There's no film score. This is clearly not a film. It's a movie. You're supposed to go there, escape, and have a good time. But for me, it missed just a little bit. If I had to suggest, whether or not you go to, you stream it, you buy it, you purchase it, or you go to the movie theaters, or you wait for it to come onto a streaming service, I would suggest waiting till it comes onto a streaming service. You'll enjoy it. It's something that you just pop in when you have a significant other and they maybe don't care about Bill and Ted. Your kids are asleep and you want to just kind of, escape your life and go back in time to the early 90s, late 80s. You'll have a little smile on your face. But other than that, I can't really suggest that it's something that I would ever watch again. But it made me smile a few times and remember some old times. What about you, Aaron?
For me, I think it was just the opposite. I definitely liked it more than you did. We saw it with some friends of ours that very much like these films too, and we all walked away pretty happy with it. I was very satisfied. I thought they could have gone ridiculous with it, and they didn't. I thought it could have been a slap in the face and just like, why in the world did they even make this movie? But like I said, I think it wraps up the story quite well, and I really enjoyed it. So for me, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I will tell you that I like the original more, but this was a better film. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey would definitely be at the end of the spectrum. So, but I do agree with you. If you haven't seen the other films, there's no point even watching this one. I think you have to be a fan of the other ones to really enjoy this one. But I thought it was very respectful. And again, it never pulled me out. I thought it fit right in with the other two movies. And I got a little more comedy out of it than you did. There are some things in there that are nods to things you wouldn't expect they would make a nod to. So there's some dialogue pieces in there. I'm not going to really go into detail, but there was some stuff in Bogus Journey that you would remember if you've seen it. And they do address some of that, and you're like, that's where that comes from. So it makes a lot more sense. So I think they did a really good job being respectful of the other two movies and not crapping on the legacy. So I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I can't give it more than that because it's not meant to be a Oscar type film.
No.
There's no thought involved in this. It's just a continuation of the original Bill and Ted. So if you're expecting that, I think you're going to enjoy it. Rent it for sure. I could tell you if it was out, I'd be in the theater, but they didn't have that option here in Phoenix. Nobody's showing it. So we had to rent it.
All right. So that wraps up our review of Bill and Ted's Face the Music. If you guys aren't aware, please, we're on Spotify and on iTunes and the podcast store. So please subscribe to our new audio podcast. And you can always catch us here on Facebook and pretty soon on YouTube. We'll be streaming sometime here in the future. So
we'll be uploading. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, with that, we are going to be uploading this to YouTube and then uploading to Facebook. So we'll have that video coming from YouTube, because we do have a page now, and we plan on doing some pretty fun things in the future to get more interactive with you guys, the audience. So hopefully you guys will have fun with this. And we would very much appreciate it if you would not just like the posts, but also share them. It takes 2 seconds to hit that share button, and you'd be surprised at the reach if you just share it, because all of these things will be public. So we do plan on having a lot of fun in the future, and may take some feedback from the audience as well. I'm looking forward to seeing where this can take us.
Oh, definitely. And if you guys have a movie, an upcoming movie that you'd like us to review, go ahead and list it on any of our sites, and we'll be happy to take a look at that, and maybe we'll end up reviewing that movie next. So for now, this is goodbye. Until next time, I'm Lamont Lovejoy.
I'm Aaron Fisher.
And we'll see you guys next time.